Hello, hi. Oh, okay, chat is refreshed. Sorry for starting this late. I had to do some personal stuff in the background. Sorry everyone if I'm a bit too out of touch. I am here though, and before we start with, well, you can read the title. I do want to talk about a few things regarding stuff. Also, give me a second. I realized that I never closed my window, and that's also a problem. Oh, alright, nice. So, I gotta say some stuff about fanfiction before we go into this. First things first, this is not the first time I've done something like this. I have done a fanfiction reading about a year ago last Easter regarding Jesus and Judas and all the other Christian people, but it was mostly gay fanfiction because you'd be surprised that I could not find a single lesbian one. And with that, the Pope died. Not that it has any connection to it, but it was kind of funny that literally the next day I think they announced his passing. Rest in peace. And now I'm back reading communist fanfiction. Now, I don't have many communist people to be worried about killing, but there are a few, so if they die, this is going to be the second time a fanfiction reading kills somebody. And not just that, there's gonna be the third time some passing happens because of my schedule. Rio. As you guys can hear, my cat is really hyperactive at the moment. I'm trying to pick him up, but he's literally flat on the surface. He's a dumbass. Alright, nice, he's back. Okay, so if this stream also kills people, that is going to be a 2 for 2. 3 for 3 if you count the Dance Central stream, but that kind of happened later and it was actually the schedule that hurt people, not exactly the stream itself. Now let's talk about fanfiction, because here's a few problems that I've run into. So my plan was to obviously go and look for fanfictions regarding the Communist Manifesto. That was my biggest mistake. First of all, a few that I found already about the Communist Manifesto were actually essays, which is not a problem. By all means, you can write your essays on the AO3, I guess. I don't really mind. Hi there. The real problem is that when you write Communist Manifesto on AO3, most of the time what you will find are fanfictions of broad and really colorful fandoms that somehow manage to put communism into their essence. It's like Sonic, but suddenly there's communism. Boku no Hero Academia, well, Kachan is now a communist. So this is what you have to imagine that I went through. So then I decided that, okay, maybe I should try Karl Marx. So I searched Karl Marx and I went to gay fanfiction, and then I found a few. And I was like, okay, this is not bad. But the problem is, half of those fanfictions were really long, as in multiple chapters. And by all means, I wanted to find one-shots for better or for worse. I was looking for one-shots mainly. And then I decided that, okay, there are a few, but this is not enough. I need more communism. I then decided to dig a bit deeper and found a couple of Che Guevara related ones that I've managed to skim through and see that, oh, some of these are actually one-shots. Great! And then I ran into another problem, that some of these were in first-person POV. And if you know first-person POV, everything is written with the pronouns I, me, myself, and I, and all that. And I don't like that. Like, please understand that me personally, when I read a fanfiction about people who do not exist, but they're not me, my character, my persona, myself, I don't like to read in first-person POV, because first things first, it's giving 2010 to 19's YA dystopian whatever books. Okay, it's not my thing. It's not my thing. And the other problem is obviously I am not Che Guevara, so I do not want to read something that out loud that, you know, it's a bit finicky, but it's personally not for me. So then I continued to search and I tried my best on God to find something. I tried. And I managed to skim down to 7 fanfictions, which is significantly less than what we had back in last Easter with Jesus and Judas. And you'd be asking, why didn't I include fanfictions that were broad but somehow mention communism? Is because those are usually geek shit, you know? They're not exactly about communist people, they're not exactly about communism, it's just like, haha, communism is funny. Communism is not funny. I do not condone to communism. If you think that me reading gay fanfiction about dead people is me condoning to communism, then you're in the wrong stream. I'm reading this because it's hilarious and it's fun. We need... Oh, you'd be surprised there is no Lenin. I found 0 Lenin. I'm pretty sure there was a few, but they were either in a language that I did not speak, aka Russian, or I just did not care because they were too long. No, tonight's selection is mostly, I kid you not, is going to be about Che Guevara and Ernesto Fidel. There are a few. There is one Stalin x Mao that I somehow found, and it's going to be raising a lot of eyebrows soon enough. And then obviously we have the classic Marx x Friedrich Engels. Like literally you're more likely to find Marx x Engels than anything else. Lenin is not that popular, at least not on the more serious matter, believe it or not. So yeah, let me think if there is anything else I do want to say. Now, obviously no hate to any of these creators. If I judge your work, I am not judging your character, I'm judging your creation. You put this out on the internet, you made this public, I found it. I am not here to obviously promote hate, but I will speak my mind if I have to, okay? Because there is, I think, one that I was like, oh, this starts fun, and then it's just downhill, kind of. What else? Another thing, the reason why this stream is meant to be short, because obviously I could have tried and dig through years upon years of fanfiction and try to broaden these 7 works that I've already had, is because tonight is the Summer Game Fest and it's gonna start relatively late in my country. So I do want to fuck around and find out before I join my Discord server to watch it, which you're also free to do. If you wanna watch the Summer Game Fest with a bunch of weirdos over at Discord, try our server, link in description. Anyways, so to make this more simple, we are going to do the classic setup of Steam Next Fest, which means that I would like to ask Chad to give me a number between 1 and 7, and then we're gonna read that fanfiction, we're gonna talk about it, and then we're going to move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, until we end the stream. Now, first pick, first serve, give me a number between 1 and 7. 7. Okay, that is actually not a bad choice. I'm gonna start this shit. This is probably the longest. This is genuinely probably the longest fic that I found. And honestly, probably the best one. Probably. Let me just zoom in. I think this was the right size. Okay, games with chat. You do not see anything, but you will now. There you go. When the flames of the candles align as the star signs. Written by... Hello? Where's the creator? Wait. There you go. My English grades are skyrocketing. Thank you. Now, this is the one and only Yuri fanfiction that I found about communism, and it's just gender-bent Karl Marx, Frederick Engels. But I'm saying this is probably one of the only ones that was genuinely kind of a good read. Like, I do wanna say where credits is due, this is corn, but it is actually kind of it is kind of actually goated. It is actually gas, you know. So, I'm not gonna go through I'm not gonna read the tags. You can read it for yourself. If something is triggering you, why are you even on this stream? Let's just jump right in, shall we? Carla wakes up in the morning just to see her rival in her bed. Mind you, I did censor certain words, as obvious. I will try to also read them out loud censored, trying to keep myself and my stream safe, obviously. Unedited versions you may find on AO3. I overwrote them, so you put the rest together. Carla woke up due to a cold winter breeze that blew softly into her face. It tickled her lips a bit. She looked at her ceiling, trying to remember anything that happened last night. A headache overwhelmed her as she forced herself to lay down. She hadn't even realized that there was a candle at the side of her bed when suddenly she felt a throbbing pain in her arm. What had happened last night? She tried to remember. She was with someone, but who? She heard someone groan. Carla turned around and saw the most exquisite woman she had ever seen in her entire life. Unfortunately for her, that woman was also her main rival in school. If it wasn't for the school project they had, they would have never even met. However, a change in plans resulted in them being rivals over the idea about how to create a utopia. By the way, it says an utopia. I'm pretty sure it's a utopia. Pretty much by proxy on how it's pronounced, but that's just me. They had to form a hypothesis about what would lead to it and what kind of utopia it would be. Carla had soon envisioned a world where everyone would be equal and had already stood up and walked towards the teacher when she heard another woman say, "Sir, I want to hand in my idea. My most important factor would be equality." The woman had looked at her with a lazy smile. Concluding that the woman had overheard her speaking to herself about the project, Carla had stood up and confronted her about the suspicious similarity between the two subjects. The teacher had broken them apart and tried to calm her down, explaining how they both could have the same subject. From that moment on, the two women were in a race of completing, handing in, and getting a higher grade than the other. What Carla failed to mention was that Frida was very, very pretty. Her soft light brown hair seemed always perfect in style, something she was maybe kind of jealous of. Frida didn't seem to have trouble making friends, something she really struggled with most of the time. After the disagreement, she noticed that her eyes, for some reason, always fell on Frida's face. She had noticed the long lashes her rival had, the sharp jawline, and the most astonishing eyes that seemed to brighten the entire room. Sometimes Frida caught her stare and would give a grin in return. Carla would feel as if her insides were on fire, and that stupid blush would always creep up her cheeks. She would always quickly turn away to avoid embarrassing herself any further. But that didn't answer the question of the reason for the presence of Frida in her bed. By the way, another kind of like, you know, misspelling, but it's okay. Why was she there? Carla was still piecing together the faded memories of yesterday. She tried to be as quiet as she could when she stepped out of the bed and walked to the bathroom. Something she wasn't prepared for was seeing the dark purple marks against the column of her neck. They didn't seem to be only on her neck, but she saw that they went further down the rim of her sleeping shirt. She groaned, connecting the candle and hickeys with Frida. Why the fuck did she do that? And more important, what now? Frida was in her dorm, practically naked, and Carla really didn't want to have a conversation with her right now. Maybe she could just leave a letter stating it was a mistake and saying that she didn't want to talk to Frida again. But like, okay, so this is where I have to pause first. That genuinely breaks continuity. She is in your room. Why would you need to leave a letter? Like, kick her out. Genuinely. Just kick her out. Like, you're freeloading in my dorm. Get out. Excuse me, that is my bed you're crashing. Hello? At least that was the plan. What she failed to notice was that in the time that she was trying to come up with a plan, Frida had materials in the mirror. Carla stood there in utter shock, not knowing what to do. Should she hide? Where could she go? Then, not even a second later, Frida turned around, seeing Carla in the far corner of the bathroom. What are you doing here? She questions. She must have been very drunk not to remember what happened. This is my dorm. And that's my bed you're sleeping in. Carla acknowledged, opening the door of the bathroom and pointing at the messy bed covered in white stains. Don't you remember anything from last night? Carla questioned. Frida looked at her for a few seconds and then gave her something that looked like a smirk. No, I don't. Could you remind me? Carla looked at her, eyes wide. Should she tell her? No, she couldn't. They were rivals. This was too awkward. Her face must have been as red as a tomato by now. Not as red as that candle. I don't remember, she heard herself say. You want to know what I think? I think you do know what happened. Frida smirked now, obviously. Carla just stared at her. Deep inside, she did want to tell her what happened, but she couldn't. It was too embarrassing. Frida looked back at the bed and saw the candle. Her eyes widened, confirming more than enough. She smiled again. Such a devilish smile, yet so attractive, which confirmed even more. Too much even. Carla tried to give her a look, which was supposed to be the beginning of an apology. Apparently Frida didn't get the message, or didn't care, and took a step forward. Carla's eyes widened as she stepped back. Though it didn't really matter, because with another step, she felt herself bumping into the wall behind her. Frida leaned forward and took notice of the little freckles covering her nose bridge, and her gaze fell down to the woman's lips. Carla noticed the change of atmosphere, and her eyes softened a bit. Frida smirked as she noticed the other woman giving in. Oh. Oh. She wasn't going to waste this opportunity. The girl who hated her oh so much stood there, pressed against the wall, breathing heavily. Frida leaned in closer and closer until the gap between their lips was sealed. Their lips moved simultaneously, as if it was their destined fate. Frida slipped one hand to Carla's neck and let the other hold onto her thigh, pulling them closer and closer. Carla tried to break free of the grasp, to gasp for air, opening her mouth slightly, but Frida bit the woman's bottom lip, making her open her mouth by surprise. With this new opportunity, Frida slipped her inside. Carla made what sounded like a muffled sound, when suddenly Frida stopped and let her breathe. She gave a sigh and opened her eyes slowly, when suddenly she felt her rival's lips moving down to her neck. She held her hand to her mouth, trying to suppress any sound tried to come out of her mouth. Frida noticed this and stopped. Carla looked at her with confusion in her eyes when the other woman grabbed both her hands and them above her head against the wall and continued where she left off. Carla still tried to suppress herself but it was too much. A loud... I forgot to actually censor one of them. It's fine. Finally escaped her soft lips as Frida bit sensitive spots. Frida continued to leave dark hues on her skin, adding them to the already existing ones. Frida looked up and softly grabbed Carla's chin and forced her to look her in the eyes. Carla looked at her desperately with bruised lips. Frida hummed slightly as she gave her a simple peck on her forehead with pride. So, like, yeah, it's not bad. It's quite fruity. Carla looked rather confused at the sweet gesture. She slipped down to the ground, flustered. Frida squatted next to her. Carla was too flustered to look at her in the eyes, so she held her in front of her face as protection. After a while, Frida stood up. She looked at her and finally picked her up bridal style. I do want to say I kinda hate that there's a lot of repetition. Like, we get it, you're flustered. You can say embarrassed. There are synonyms. Like, it's kind of annoying me. But anyway. You know I've always loved you, Frida mutters. She blushes a little at the confession, Jesus. Cara looks at her as the tall woman carries her outside of the bathroom and lays her down on the couch. You must be exhausted. Try to get some sleep. I clean all this up for you. Cara looked back at Frida as the woman started cleaning her room. Not much later, she fell asleep. As soon as Frida finished cleaning, she sat down next to the adorable woman sleeping. She wondered what would have happened if they had never met. She caught herself yawning and lay down next to her. As soon as she did, she felt a hand around her waist. Her eyes felt like magnets closing as she adjusted to the smaller woman. Oh yeah, don't forget to like the stream, thank you. Carla woke up feeling extremely hot. There was something in front of her. No. Someone. She looked upon their back. It looked stained from sweat. In a flash, she remembered what happened before, though this time she was okay with it. She pulled the woman closer and cuddled for a while, falling asleep once again. Hours later, she woke up. Again, this is so unnecessary. This entire part is genuinely so unnecessary. Because it doesn't tell me exactly when are we, other than where are we. We get it. We're in Karl Marx's room, whatever, or Karl Marx, whatever you wanna say. But my problem with this whole shebang is that... Okay, so my whole problem with this bit is that it's really fucking annoying, because I don't know if we are before... the initial wake up, or is this after she fell asleep on the couch? Like, again, this whole scenario makes no fucking sense. It's just too much. Like, it's giving padding time. Frida turned around and faced her. A caring smile appeared. She kissed Carla on the cheek and just stared at her for what seemed like a long time. Carla flushed but pulled her back and started kissing her again. Frida deepened their kiss until she let a hand slide under the other's shirt. She looked surprised at Carla, who was giving her a slight smirk. Is this okay? She asked, her voice low and mesmerizing. Carla nodded. Words, darling. Carla, with a clear voice, said, Yes, please. Please what? Frida asked. You have to tell me what you want from me, darling. Carla felt the blood rise to her cheek as she looked away. She felt the hand under her shirt sliding up. She shivered at the sudden movement. I want you to me until I can't remember my own name. Jesus, she begged. I want you to me till I can only scream yours. Good girl. She turned Carla around, positioning her on her lap. Safe word is communism, okay? And this is where I cracked up. I genuinely cracked up. This is funny as hell. Safe word is communism. Which implies that either communism already exists and these people are relatively separate from the actual Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. And they're just revitalizing their ideas because, again, their whole meetup was because of a school project. Or they invented communism together and now they're using it as a safe word. Just saying. It's cute though. Frida murmured in her ear as her lips touched Carla's ear. Again, too much repetition. Like, we get it. It's at her ear. Lock in. She grabbed something from behind her. In her hand lay a red candle. The candle. She put the object down and brought 3 fingers to Carla's mouth and uttered in a low voice, Carla slowly opened her mouth and took all 3 fingers in her mouth. Again, the reason why I'm censoring mouth in one scenario and doesn't in another is because I am thinking about context heavy shit. So in case it's a bit strange for certain body parts to be mentioned in certain scenarios, I do censor them. That's why. She swirled her around the fingers, coating them with a layer of saliva. Such a little slut, said Frida, Carla at the degrading name she was given. After a few minutes, the fingers were removed from her mouth. Frida had begun to take off the shirt Carla was wearing. Carla shivered at the sudden flush of wind that came in. Wait, no, it was Frida's breath that made her shiver. Frida started kissing the crook of her neck, her collarbone, and worked her way down her chest. I think that's chest. I do want to say again, this part with the wind and then wait, no, it was a breath. If you want to do something like wait, no, I think it's better to be a bit more descriptive. Like, wait, no, a wind would have been colder, or oh no, there is no only wind in the scorching heat of August would feel like this. This had to be someone's breath, you know, like you want to make these little exclamations, if you want to say them, meaningful, because otherwise it's kind of like, again, it feels like padding, but it doesn't really give much to the work itself. Then suddenly she stopped, looked at the other in the eye and said, "Get up, slut." Which I was like, hey, excuse me? Carla flushed and followed her to her bed, which means that when we fell asleep hours later, whatever. So this is after the initial wake up. So then why are we here? Like, the whole couch shit was for nothing. Like, all we learned is that Carla apparently has a messy fucking room and she cannot clean herself up. Which is like, is that really meaningful to this story? Not really, you know? Like, it's not deliberate. It's not reasonable. Okay. Carla flushed and followed her to her bed and laid down. Frida instantly climbed on top of her and continued where she left off. Then, with no warning, she took one finger and slid it inside her butt. Carla moaned at the pleasure overtaking her senses. After she adjusted, she added another. She simultaneously started thrusting her inside. Carla couldn't resist the overwhelming pleasure. Without thinking, she started moving to get more friction. Oh, Frida murmured. You know, you should ask before you can do something like that. Carla ignored her and continued to herself with the tops. Oh god. Frida looked at the desperate woman beneath her in awe and put the last finger inside. With her other hand, she took the candle. As soon as she thought Carla was I guess it's prepared. I genuinely don't know why I censored that. Prepared enough, she removed all three at once. Carla looked at her in disappointment. Frida ignored this and put the candle at her entrance. Now, I don't know if putting wax in there is a good idea, but I sure hope it felt good. I honestly appreciate the whole candle thing, because it's like, it kind of is giving the idea that, hey, we want to use sex toys, but we don't have sex toys, you know? Like, it's giving, we have sex toys at home. The sex toys at home. Which is, again, not a problem. It's creative, you know? Everyone's so creative. Sorry, I need a drink because I'm gonna have to drink a lot tonight. Because I have to yap a lot. Anyway. Where was I? Oh yeah, the candle. Carla's eyes widened in surprise. In a large Frida, the candle inside. Carla let out a moan. With her other unoccupied hand, Frida began massaging her thigh. Carla held her hand against her mouth and the other gripped onto the bed. She let out a breathy moan as the candle against her curve. Talk, my darling. Say how much you love me. Frida whispered while giving her a smirk. I can't, Carla mumbled. Say it. It's too embarrassing. Frida the candle back inside harder than before. Carla could better suppress that almost slipped from her lips. Oh, come on, darling, let me hear you. Carla nearly complied, but withheld herself from doing so. We've been through this before. You don't want me to... Oh, it's tie you up. Sorry, I don't know why I censored tie you up, but I guess it's because it's context heavy. Do you? Visions of herself... Yeah, I mean, I left her right there. Tied up swam through her mind. Wait, when did they... It must have been that night when they got drunk. So, like, this is when I got hella confused. Because when you read this, or like whatever, you kind of assume that this was the first and only time that they had sex. And it was just about the candle, because all she said that she had purple marks on her. But those are kind of giving the idea that, you know, they were from like heavy kissing or some shit. So like, this makes no sense, right? Like, where did that come from? Where did the ropes come from? Like, if she mentions that her, like, all she mentioned that her ass was sore. She never mentions that her, like, I don't know, she has sore hands from being tied up. So, like, this came out of fucking nowhere. I feel like they wanted to sprinkle a bit of shibari, but at the end of the day, they did nothing with it, which is sad. In the end, it didn't really matter. She felt like she was high on constant pleasure, and that was rolling through her bones, like the tides of a wave. She neared her at its climax, as Frida the candle inside. Frida saw the state of the woman and increased the pace. You look so good, darling, so good. With the end nearing, Carla tried to lift her hips, but Frida forced them slowly down. Smiling, she said, "You should savor this, darling. You look too good like this." And with a final, Carla came. She fell limp on the mattress as she tried to recover from her high. Frida came to lay next to her, pulling an arm around her wrist. Also, I want to say they're using the wrong punctuation mark as well for the conversation. Those are not the right punctuation marks either. It's a really minor tad bit. I have like cohesiveness is more important to me than being grammatically correct. Unless you are grammatically incorrect the entire time and you're just deliberately trying to piss me off. You did so well, Frida whispered to her forehead, leaving small butterfly kisses. You know, whispered Carla back, I've never felt this good. You let me feel like I'm your highest priority, like I'm a goddess. But I didn't give you something back. Me with a candle, but I didn't give you something back. Again, repetition, this could have been rephrased a bit. Frida looked at the woman beside her and frowned. Darling, I loved seeing you like this, sprawled beneath me. Why would you give me something in return? Why should you, Jesus? It just doesn't feel right, explained Carla. I want you to feel good. Frida smiled at Carla as her slowly built up again. Well, if you're that desperate, I suggest you do something about it. Carla gave her a slow nod and shifted her gaze on her lips. She leaned in and Frida's lips met hers in a soft kiss. Like, again, for this, you could have said mouth first and then lips. Again, you know, semantics once more. Frida deepened the kiss and slipped her in the woman's mouth. Carla moved back slowly and gave a final peck on her lips before she continued to move her down. Frida moaned softly when Carla reached her neck. You feel good right now. Carla whimpered. Wait, you feel so good? Okay, another thing. You never really know who's talking. Like we only know that, well, Frida likes to use degrading names. We get that. But like this, who says this? Again, very confusing. It's like the gay fanfiction issue with the pronouns. But I'm not even in the pronouns because you just straight up have Carla whimpering afterwards. But you still don't know if she's whimpering because she's reacting to the slut or she's whimpering because she's the one saying the slut. Again, cohesiveness is a bit staggering, which annoys me when it is not as annoying when you would read it by yourself in the middle of the night when it's nighttime and like again nighttime. Like now I'm repeating myself. So it's not as annoying when you're alone and you're just like skimming through something and you're just trying to have a quick I don't know jerk off session or whatever if you jerk off to this I guess. But when you're reading it out loud to an audience, or even just like trying to make sense of it by reading it out loud, it becomes fucking striking. It's really obvious. And it's kind of annoying when you're like so deep in it. Okay, Carla whimpered and felt two hands gripping her head. The fingers tangled in her hair, and the only thing she could think about was how good it all felt. The hands were slowly pushing her down. She looked at Frida through her lashes, and Frida gave her a nod. Only if you want it, darling. Carla kissed Frida's lips in confirmation. I want to do it, she said. She kissed the other woman's lips again. Then she went down again, leaving hickeys, that's a hickey, all over the woman's muscular body. She slowly started licking the and lubricating the clit. She was teasing her until the top would beg for her, just around her hole, but not yet going in. Please, Frida, softly but with a demanding voice. Please, just come on. I'm gonna need you to tell me what you want, Carla demanded. So this is your sweet revenge, smiled Frida. She leaned forward and grabbed her chin. Listen, darling, you're gonna have to please me, she uttered. You promised, didn't you? Frida pulled her closer, put her on top of her thigh. Wait, again. And started kissing. Okay, so she just like brought her up? Like, girl didn't even finish down there. Why would you bring her up? You know? Started kissing like, Carletta Haimo. She put one hand on her skirt. Again, we didn't even know there was a skirt in the first place. I just assumed they were both naked. And pulled it down a bit, just enough to reach the inside of Frida's. She felt the woman's hand pushing her down and started sucking. Like again, like you brought her up. Frida pulled her closer, put her on top of her thigh, and started kissing her neck, which means that they are face to face. And then suddenly, like, you'd assume that they're still face to face as one hand is going down the skirt, right? Why are we already back at the clit? Right? I'm gonna hold you by the as I ask this. Like, continuity is broken again. Like, at this point, if you are all fucking around down there, there is no reason to bring someone up. Like, she could have just, like, teased her neck or her nape with her hand, and then the position would be still cohesive. I can't believe that I'm dissecting a Yuri fanfic purely because it pisses me off that it cannot respect positions on my time. But that's what I'm doing. So y'all don't have to. Frida tugged at Carla's hair. Her vibrated throughout her entire body. It did not take very long until Frida reached her max either. Later that night, the women lay beside each other, spooning. Carla was smiling at the ceiling. Frida turned to look at her in confusion. What is it, darling? The pet names were much for the poor communist. She broke out into tears. Like, she was just smiling at the ceiling and now she's crying. I get it. Women are emotional. God bless. But, like, fuck off. She could have just laughed it off. Why did she have to be such a crybaby? You know, like, my car marks would never type shit. I don't know. I love you so much. Especially the part. Frida giggled at the random comment. Well, I like the part too, I guess. Carla laughed and quickly returned to her previously serious expression. Yeah, but I love how much you more... Wait, I love so much more than just the... I love your glistening hair. I love your deep dark eyes. I love you. I love you so much. I'm sorry I was such a... to you. Of course you wouldn't know what I would choose as a subject, and I made a whole drama about it. It's a school project. Why are you crying? Girl! Like, thank God she didn't overreact, you know? Tears streamed down her eyes and she looked up to see the woman. Hey, it's alright. I shouldn't have done it, Frida shudged. Besides, if that wouldn't have happened, then I would have never met you. You would have. You guys were in the same classroom. You probably just wouldn't have started out as hating each other. Once again, people really love to make simple shit dramatic as fuck. And in this scenario, it's really not warranted. Nor needed. Sorry. I would be happy to go through that all again if that meant we would end up like this. She kissed the bridge of Carla's nose and smiled softly. I love you too. She put on some calm music and pulled her up out of the bed. Come on, let's go clean up a little. I'll make you some tea. Carla looked at her lover and sat down at the table while she was admiring her newfound lover. Again, girlfriend. You could have said girlfriend. Partner. Even. Who would have thought she'd fall for the person she despised? When Frida came back with the tea, she went and sat down on the couch together. A blanket around their shoulders and a movie to cry about. But most importantly, they found each other. Again, that is a really shit way to end it. Because, like, okay, you know this whole they found each other thing? Okay, chat, hear me out. So you know that when you say that, but most importantly, they found each other as your last line, you kind of assume that the previous line would also somehow involve finding something. Like, you know, they found hope, they found courage, but most importantly, they found each other, right? Like, that shit makes complete sense when you say it out loud, when you read it, yada yada yada. This makes no sense! A blanket around his shoulder and a movie to cry about, but most importantly, they found each other. Like, they acting like founding a movie to cry about was so hard. Bitch was crying about a fucking school project. I don't think... It's giving I could cry at fucking Happy Gilmore. Sure, Happy Gilmore does have sad moments, but oh well. It's still a fucking Adam Sandler movie. But yeah, this was when the flames of the candles align as the star sign. Honestly, when I read it for the first time, it was kind of good. First, it was the only fucking Yuri fanfic that I found. The sex scene was probably the best one out of all 7 that I found. Mind you, I think 2 of them don't even actually have sex in it, even though it's still labeled as mature/explicit. So that's false advertisement already. But when you read it out loud, you kind of realize that it is falling apart. And it's not really fun. If I have to rank it between, like, I don't know, a score from 1 to 5, I would give it a solid 3. The lack of cohesiveness was not helping it. And the lack, and the constant repetition of, like, of words, you know? Remember when, there was this one fanfic that I read during, I think it was Easter, yeah. And they kept moaning. And I was so fucking mad, like, guys, can you stop moaning? I think it was the moaning. I don't really remember. There was like one fucking word that just kept recurring and I really fucking hated it. But anyhow, this was certainly a choice to be written. It was not a bad choice, but it could have been fixed up a bit. And this was posted like 2 years ago. No, actually 3 years ago, mind you. This shit's 3 years old. And mind you, this is one of the longest ones. Because everything else is really short. So, thank you when the flames of the candle align as the star signs. For opening the night. Now shy away. Okay, so this was the 7th fanfiction. I would like people, if there are still someone in chat, to give me a fanfic to read between 1 and 6 next. I'm also going to take a moment to like moisturize my fucking throat because it's really, really fudging hot in here. 5, okay. Let me wait a moment. Oh, okay. Give me a second. Okay, this should be it. So this is Revolutionary Ardour. This is honestly another, obviously, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels type shift. I want to say this is the one that genuinely had good humor and funny writing. This one had a really clever writing to it. It is shorter and even older than the Yuri one. So we are just going to through it. But the plot is Marx and Engels on lads' night out in Victorian London. So in the play set in London of that 1850s, Jesus, Marx. Wait, this is a play? Oh, this is about a play. I didn't even know that. Oh, that's actually fun. I genuinely censored this, but I did not realize that this took place. This is actually about a play. You know what? Diva, this one had a really clever writing, and now I'm concerned. This means that whoever wrote this, Mr. Reddit, is actually like, you know, they might have found media literacy. You know, they found it. They have owned it. They have earned it. You know, earned media literacy, chat. So I think this is why this one had such a clever writing, because it was much more palatable than the others. The only problem is that it's very thick, as you can see. The lines are super thick, so I have to genuinely lean in to read this one. But I'm going to try my best. Anyway, so the plot point is, by the way, that they got drunk and they tried to steal a church gate. Just so you guys know why they're talking about the church gate right at the beginning. Okay. They put the church gate back in its place together, bumping into each other as they carry it and lift it onto its hinges, still debating the ethics of their actions, even though the pillars has already caught them and the consideration is therefore purely academic. Marx feels his head begin to throb as the alcohol threatens to begin to wear off, forcing himself to pull his sightline away from Engels, who's smiling brightly and holding the gate up with his healthy, strong arms. Marx follows the pattern of the broad iron of the gate, each twisting bar. If he had managed to abscond successfully and pawn it with Mr. Fleecy, now the iron only represents so many lost potential meals for the children. To most Englishmen, stealing from the wealthy, powerful, mendacious Church of England was the worst sort of taking of property, but Marx didn't quite see eye to eye with most Englishmen. Engels had made to stalk off after their wandering, unsober argument, pep talk over the plight of the poor and Marx's relatively lack of economics brutalization. However, once Marx had stopped his second attempt, shittingly noticed by Engels, to liberate the gate from its hinges, he persuaded Engels to return with the prospect of more drink. Marx promised to buy the next round, but they both knew the offer's performative. If this is truly the time his wife won't come back to him, at least Marx can comfort himself with the reasonable assumption. He feels it somewhere deep and certain with him that Engels always will. Shall we call it a night? Engels asked in his usual friendly manner after they pinned, his hand resting on Marx's shoulder. They had not quite made it through all 18 pubs on Tottenham Court Road. Dragging that gate back rather tired me out. Come home with me, Mark says because it's easy to say. It runs off his tongue like a rhetorical flourish. Nim won't mind. She might, considering the state we're in, Engels says, eyebrows raised, but he's still smiling and his voice is softer than usual. Don't give Nim any shit. Are you angry at Jenny for leaving? She'll come back, Mark says, mumbling the reply towards their empty green glasses. Besides, she took an entire sensible course of action. Being both richer and more left-wing than me gives Willich a distinct advantage. She believes in the cause. She doesn't even want to go back to wearing French silks. She just wants to own some furniture and a pony. Women like ponies, I think. And now I'm drunkenly agreed to fly Village to the fucking death. That'll really annoy her. It's annoying me too, says Engels. And Nim, probably. Are you sure you don't mean worrying? Marx asks slyly. I can speak for Nim. Engels says shortly, and Marx grins, taking the victory where he can at the knowledge that they all care about him. His best friend, his maid, and his wife, sometimes, maybe. Thinking about it, that helps push the fear down. I tried to stop her from leaving back at Dean Street, Engels says. Marx wonders whether Engels is drunkenly running together his words like he is, or whether his own affected perception is putting that in. He likes to think he's quite a self-aware drunk. Come home with me, Marx says, which he hopes Engels will take to mean thank you. I suppose there's a chance my lodging house might be locked up by this time, Engels says heavily, and Marx laughs, drags him out of his chair, claps him on his back, and pulls him out the door. The cold sobers him slightly. It has only just stopped raining, and the cobblestones shine from the water and the light of the gas lamps. Marx collects his thoughts, Engels chattering about and bumping along aside him. He wonders how Nim would feel about Engels being brought back home under the circumstances for which Engels would be there, and he thinks about the timeless of the dividing wall between the flat's 2 rooms. Making up his mind, he takes Engels by the arm and yanks him into one of Soho's narrowest, most deserted alleyways where they are alone and, at this hour, likely to remain so. Not too loud. Marx tells Engels as they stumble in together. Engels has inconveniently chosen this moment to break into a giddy, uncontrollable laughter. Engels flops against the grimy brick wall. He looks flushed from drink and the cold and happiness. Please let me see you properly. Wow, what a way to start a fucking conversation. Like, I just got here. Mark's speech is not as slurred as it was earlier in the night, although he still feels the darring that comes with inebriation. Jesus. Please, just once. For an old friend. Keep your voice down. Why you have this sudden fascination, I have no idea. It's not a sudden fascination, Mark says, self-righteously but also swallowing down the words. Such are his nerves. He's not quite sure where they come from. Well, I'm not going to just whip it out, Engels says. You'll have to charm it from me. Mark steps closer, his hand either side of Engels' torso, his body pressing Engels against the wall. He's very close to Engels' face. A lot of angles, we get it. You could have just said his, or the other man, or the drunker man. You know what I mean. I might die tomorrow, Mark says. That's not very charming, Engels replies. He's quiet because of where they're standing and because their faces are so close. Mark swallows. He is not often out of words. In the absence of any other technique he can see available to him, he surges forward and kisses Engels deeply. Marx expects some appreciable technique from such a serial seducer, and indeed when Engels responds with kiss in sweet and involving, the sweep of his tongue making Mark's stomach flip over. Oh, Engels says softly against his lips, and it sparks a feeling of tight heat somewhere in Mark's chest. They kiss again. Engels held between Mark's and the wall of the hallway, and Marx realizes with a hot shock that they are pressed against each other through their layers of clothes. Marx gasps against Engels' lips, emboldened, and reaches down to undo the high waistband of Engels' trousers that unbuttons the front of his drawers. God, Marx murmurs, it really is massive. My ego will grow even larger than it is if you keep saying such things. Engels replies, the flush in his cheeks rising further. All the same, he doesn't particularly look like he wants Marx to shut up, nor that he wants Marx to stop touching him. I am pleased, Marx says, tightening the grip of his hand in a way that makes Engels shudder in pleasure, to have finally managed to seize the means of production. Engels splutters in surprise, gratifying laughter, which makes Marx laugh too, and then they collapse against each other, laughing and laughing at the brilliant joke. You are extremely lucky to have produced no issue, Marx at last says, quite seriously. That I know of, Engels says. Now if you could just return your hand. How many French women have you taken tea with now? None so pretty as you, Engels leers, making Marx laugh again, until Engels puts his arms around Marx and returns to kiss him. So I want to say right off the bat, before I continue, this conversation genuinely feels realistic. It is obviously a stupid banter between two drunk friends, and I don't feel like it's too much, even though they're literally like touching each other in public, and it is kind of weird for them to do so. The way they talk to each other doesn't feel weird, to me at least, and I appreciate that. I did a drink. Engels screams, pressing his heart firmly against Marx's thigh, but he doesn't change their position. Instead, he unbuttons both layers of Marx's flies and grasps Marx firmly and assuredly. Marx is so goddamn close, he realizes that it's going to take an embarrassingly short time for him to finish. Marx groans, looking at Engels, looking at him, and feels lightning run through him like the key and the kite. What do you think of mine? Marx says uncertainly, gesturing downwards with his eyes, trying to make a joke, feeling more undone than he expected to. It's about as long as your book, I suppose, Engels says offhandedly, continuing the movement of his hands, pretending to look stern. Not very. Fuck you, Marx says, teeth biting into his bottom lip as his toes curl in his boots and he comes with a swallowed down moan. He's dimly aware of his seed hitting the wall. Oh my god, I genuinely forgot that I did not censor any of that. Well, Marx breathes once he has calmed down sufficiently. Engels still, Marx notices with delight, tenting his underwear. With the priorities and confidence of the slightly inebriated, Marx falls to his knees and hits the cobbles of the dirty alleyway. If you are potentially giving nearing half your income to me, you wish you could chum that much from me, Engels says, looking down at Marx with a delighted smile. You got half of me. It is the capitalist way. Which half? The bottom half? Marx says, his insides leaping at how Engels' breath hitches. No, then I wouldn't get to hear your treatise. I guess it meant to be treatise. Well, if you take the top half, I can still do this, Marx says, flashing a grin as he dips downwards to take Engels entirely in his mouth. Now, I genuinely think this was clever, funny, smooth as hell. I genuinely love this. I love this whole scenario. It's good shit. Oh, sweet Jesus, groans Engels, arching back dirtily. Which, whatever that means. One hand hitting the brakes with his palm. My dear Engels, Marx says after a few minutes interlude. His pulling away of his mouth makes Engels grunt out in frustration. I've thought on it further. Actually, my initial statement was incorrect. The capitalist way is all of me for a third of the price. Marx, you are aware I was extremely close to finishing. If you just, for a few moments, you could ignore that I fund you for and go back to what you were doing. Marx assumes his attentions, but this time with his hand, enjoying the way Engels' eyes delicately close but never stay closed for long, and how Engels bites down hard on the inside of his cheek to try and quieten himself. Am I better at this than your Parisian friends? Marx asks. Less professional, Engels replies between keening breaths, but more well-meaning. Well, Marx says, just so you know whether for full price or none, you have all of me. Oh, says Engels and finishes all over Marx's head and upturned face. That is great. With his clean hand, Marx retrieves his handkerchief. For a few minutes, Engels stays quiet, slumped against the wall, and gently contented smile across his face. Once he has adequately rested, he pushes himself up to an upright standing position and places his hand on Marx's shoulder. My dearest Marx, Engels tells him, this is never repayment. What you can offer the world is your repayment. What you can offer me personally is a very welcome sideshow. Engels offers his hand, which Marx grabs and uses to pull himself up from the ground, swaying a little. Marx and Engels, Marx calls out, one fist raised in the air before abruptly slumping over Engels, leaning into the crook of his neck, which smells musky and familiar. Engels and Marx. Engels replies, his tone kind, a hand in Marx's long hair. Go and get some sleep. And that's it. Oh, there's an endnote? I could not even think of sleeping. I must go to Nim. Are you even sated? Engels sighs as they walk towards the crossroads where Marx will turn for Dean Street and Engels will go back to his room. Don't. She loves you. You love me. Engels gives him a long, tough look. I am not in your employ. Hypocrite. I am effectively in your employ. Anyway, too late. Greenwich Park 2 months ago. Do you have a thing for all fresco fucking? My friend, Marx replies, we must be revolutionary in our Ardour. I fucking love this shit. It is surprisingly really damn clever. You know, I did not expect when I opened this to be so funny. Obviously, I'm missing a fuck ton of context because I've never watched this play that it is actually about, but oh god, it's actually really nice. You know, the best part about it is that it feels realistic. Not because, oh my god, Marx and Engels would fuck each other on the street, but because if you peel away the... what is it called? If you peel away the recognizable traits such as, I don't know, the wife or the characters' names themselves or whatever, you genuinely find just two very realistic people in an alleyway. And I think that's beautiful. Would I love to see that? Probably not. Would I support it? I guess it's Pride Month, so yes. This is probably one of the best works out here. It's short, it's nice, and it's kind of funny. And I love that he's like, it's about as long as your book. Not very. That's funny as fuck. That's funny as hell. Okay. We are down. We have only 5 left. I'm going to take a small pre-bake because I need to moisturize my throat very badly. In the meantime, if anyone knows what kind of number they want, just pick between 1 and 5 and I will be back with you shortly. Please take care. I will be back. Alright, I'm back. Let me just quickly... Oh. Well, the chat refreshed. It's probably gonna be fine. I'm gonna refresh it again in case. Alright, can someone give me a number between 1 and 5, please? I would appreciate that. Like a lot. For safety. There we go. Oh, let me not pick because I don't know what to pick. 3. Okay, thank you. Appreciate you. Oh, this one's gonna be bad. If I remember correctly, this one's gonna be bad. Yes, okay. So, guys, I have a question before we go into this one. Do you guys remember the fanfiction where Jesus' jizz turns into wine? Or the one where Jesus gives birth to Judas's child before or after Judas dies or some shit? Or when he returns to his people or some shit. Now, this is gonna be kind of like that. This one is really fucking bad. Like, why would you write this bad? And mind you, this was like a year ago. It's Fuck the Bourgeoisie, a Karl Marx as Friedrich Engels Empreg fic. And you know, I read this and I was like, why am I here? Why am I doing this to myself? It's only 600 words, but those 600 words are going to be engraved into my soul, and I will never wash that sin away. And now, it's on yours too. So here it goes. Fuck the Bourgeoisie, a Karl Marx x Friedrich Engels Empreg fic by Chloe the Banana. Marx is working on the final draft of the Communist Manifesto when Engels shows up demanding that he finish writing it. Well, he will finish, but not in the way Engels thinks. God bless you all. I hope you will be able to look at yourselves after hearing this fanfiction. London, 1848. Carr sat alone at his desk, typing frantically. The first draft of the Communist Manifesto should have been finished months ago, but he was still trying to work through some of the concepts in his head. He'd gotten across the basics of the stages of history fairly easily, but how best to explain the meaning of bourgeoisie society? Bourgeoisie society? I think that's how it's pronounced, Jesus. His window overlooked the Thames, and through it, Carl could see the sun setting over the charted Thames. Again, another... People really like to not write... People, like, you could have just said river. Like, that was unnecessary. It was getting late. He needed to fetch the oil lamp if he wanted to continue to work at his typewriter. Actually, he might need to buy more oil, as Carl was accustomed to late nights. Marx! A voice called out. It was Engels, the young man who kindly gave Marx this place to stay to develop his ideas. What is it, Frederick? Marx yelled back. Have you finished the manifesto yet? Like, have you finished the manifesto yet, lad? Have you by any chance completed your life work? My good gentleman. No, I still need more time. An exasperated Engels entered the study. Sweat covered his brow. Strange. The man always seemed nervous around Marx. You've had time, he said. Yes, well, I don't want to rush myself. The future revolution needs as good of a text as I can manage to write. The revolution is already happening. Haven't you heard about what's happening in Switzerland and Paris and the Cartists here? Now it's the time to release the manifesto. Marx stroked his beard. I suppose you might be right. Fine. Whatever the text is by tomorrow morning will be the final version. But I have one condition. Engels looked worried. What's the condition? If you want me to release the manifesto, then you need to do something here too. You need to let me... You. Excuse me? Engels chuckled. He seemed to think it was a joke. Sorry, no, not you. Impregnate you. And this is where I realized that I walked into another fucking landmine. Because why would you say that? Now, why would you say that? Like, is that fucking book that important that you need to actually go through 9 months of pregnancy? Is it? Also, like, I'm sorry, Marks, but this guy is literally renting you an apartment to write your fucking book. Do you actually have the financial stability to raise his child that you're trying to put inside him? Marks, did you thought about that? Did you thought about that when you wrote the Communist Manifesto, bitch? Like, I'm just saying, like, this fucking hurt me. Engels blushed. Marks, cut it out. We're both married. We said last time. Last time would be the last time, I know. But when I look at you, I struggle to hold myself back. I feel a gravity from your body and I don't want to resist it. And I was like, like, genuinely, get tested. What the fuck? But this was inappropriate. You're my guest and my employee. The power I hold over you. Exactly. Like, this man is not even financially secured enough to actually raise that child that he wants to put inside you. Just kick him out and steal the fucking manifesto. Like, dead ass. Mark stood up. The man towered over Engels. You hold no power over me, you stinking bourgeoisie. Engels gulped. Yes, sir. Get on your knees. We do this here. Engels complied. And so Mark's fucked. Hard. His giant sliding in and out of Engels. Right there on the floor of Mark's study. Engels, I think it's whimpered. He felt obliterated. Like, you know, this feels like a crime. Like, I was coerced into getting pregnant by my employee. Otherwise, he wouldn't have did his job. Like, fire him. I hope whatever contract they had also includes all rights of ownership of the manifesto to Engels. Like, in any normal scenario, I would say power to the creator, power to the writers, the artists, or whatever. But when you want to use that power to do horrible things to people's bodies, I don't think I like that. I'm not even fighting the fanfiction's writer right now, I'm fighting the concept. Oh my god, versus a hard fucking place to be at right now. I am the dictator of the Jesus, I can't even read that shit. I'm the dictator of the proletariat, Mark said. And you are the capital class submitting to my hegemony. Yes, Engels moaned. Mark's him. Yes, daddy, he insisted. Yes, daddy. Engels said. He trembled under the weight of communist domination. And this is what I knew that I was like, this is a joke. This is a joke. You know, I feel like, you know, the problem with the Jesus wine cum, and this is that I genuinely feel like the Jesus wine cum really tried to be serious. This is not serious. I hope Engels got an abortion. I hope he chose the abortion. Mark sped off, moving from one stage of... I don't know what that is. Oh, it's sex. One stage of sex. Whatever. One stage of sex to the... One stage of sex to the next, as history will inevitably move towards communism. You filthy capitalist pig, you're enjoying this, aren't you, Mark spat. Yes, Daddy Marks! Mark shouted out, we have nothing to lose but our virginities! Mind you, they literally mentioned that they both have a wife. Are you telling me y'all got married and did not touch y'all's wives? I bet Engels is a really hot alpha baddie. And he's fucking around with this guy who he pays. Like, that ass. Is this really it? As he shot his into Engels, Engels could feel his insides had been rearranged, and as Mark's uh, entered him, he knew that he had been bred. How would he explain this to his wives? His growing belly over the next 9 months, the cravings and the eventual child. No, his wife didn't matter. He was a filthy bourgeoisie and he would submit to daddy proletariat. He would think only of daddy proletariat. Like, genuinely fuck off. The next morning, Marx read through the final draft of the Communist Manifesto. Strange, he thought. He'd forgotten the last sentence he'd written. Working men of all countries, come! And that's it. And that's it. And you know, those 600 words could have went through a job application. Mine, the writers, the readers, anyone's really. I hated it. I hated it, but in a more deep-rooted anger towards the concept of Omegaverse. Now, you have to understand, I do not hate Omegaverse. I found Omegaverse to be a relatively fine genre of fanfiction / manhwa, manga, whatever. I have a profound hatred for pregnancies. Especially if they're forced. Because this shit was not this was DobCon. This should have a DobCon tag. Because what do you mean you're not gonna release the Communist Manifesto unless you put a baby inside me first? Like, fuck the revolution at that point. I genuinely hope, but I doubt that Engels got that fucking abortion. And his wife divorced him too, on top of that. Anyways, thank you, Charlotte the Banana. Wherever you are, I hope you know that I don't hate you. But I don't think we should be left in a room together. One of us would cry, and it's probably going to be me. Okay, we're literally nearly done. I think yes, that was funny enough. I don't know how you managed to do it, chat, but y'all's managed to... No, fuck off. Asha. Y'all's managed to actually take all the fanfic that... I think this was all of the Karl Marx fanfics. I genuinely think these were all the Karl Marx and Engels fanfics. There's maybe one more left. Maybe. But I genuinely think that the rest is either some Stalin shit or the Che Guevara Ernesto Fidel. Two next? Okay, let's see. Oh, no, this is not. This is definitely not. Yeah, this is the Stalin one. Okay, so before we go in, I have to say this one actually has 2 chapters, and I chose it because it was relatively short despite having 2 chapters. And this is one of the ones that genuinely has no fucking corn happening in it, which is funny enough. This is a Commies Discover Yaoi, in which honestly, I would let you chat just sit down for a second and read. Just read the tags. They're absolutely killing it. While I pour myself a drink, because this is something. Mind you, again, half of those tags, not even half of them, like some of those tags are genuinely just forced advertising, because there is no fucking mpreg. I'm gonna spoil it. There is no mpreg. Deadass, this is the most vanilla shit out of all of them, but also the funniest. Not clever funny, as in the one with the revolutionary Ardours or whatever it was called. Jesus, I cannot pronounce it. Ardour. This is it's so bad it's funny. This is the so bad it's funny category. Made this year, made literally like a month ago, at best. Commies discover Yaoi. Stalin and Mao meet at a book club to talk about their love for Communist Manifesto. Communism isn't the only thing that manifests. Chapter 1. As Stalin timidly walked into the bookstore, which was hosting a Communist Manifesto author meet and greet, he clenched his book tightly. Once he looked up, he scanned the room and his eyes lashed onto one man. He was tall, handsome, and most notably, big. Some would say he takes up the sky with his beautiful head. Stalin knew he couldn't just go up to him. No, he was much too shy and ugly. He was sure that the man liked a more confident partner. He slowly walked up to the group of people surrounding the man. One of the smarter, shorter women exclaimed flirtatiously, "Mao, I didn't know you were such a fan of the Communist Manifesto. We're so similar in that way." Like, not communist pick-me girls. Not the communist pick-me girls entering the chat. Wow, Stalin thought, Mao is such a beautiful name for a man like him. As more people crowded around Mao, Stalin felt something boil inside of him. Was this jealousy? He pushed the thought away and went to sit down in the seat, leaning the wall. Another man came into the room, one that walked in with confidence. Jesus, I need another drink, hold on. It's so great to see supporters of my book. I'm Karl Marx, the writer of the Communist Manifesto. Everyone stopped talking and went to sit down as soon as the man started to talk. Stalin was so excited, fangirling that he was able to see him in person. Stalin was a huge Karl Marx supporter and even made a Facebook group and named the fans the Marxists. Karl continued to talk like, Deadass, I read this and I giggled. Like, what do you mean? the Marxist Facebook group made by Joseph Stalin. I'm so grateful to have so many fans. I knew that my book would be popular among commoners, but I didn't know so many looked this poor. Marx continued his speech, and once he finished, he allowed people to come up to sign the books. As Stalin was walking up to the line, he bumped into Mao, the taller man from earlier. Sorry, Mao said before quickly picking up Stalin's dropped book. It's fine. I wasn't looking at where I was going. Stalin blushed a deep red as Mao's hand brushed against his as he handed him his book. I never expected to see bottom Stalin, but damn. Life is good, I guess. After this interaction, Stalin partly blanked for the rest of the evening. Once Stalin got home, he dove face down into his bed and groaned. All he could think about was Mao and his beauty, so much so that earlier when he met Marx to get his book signed, he barely even said anything and instead still glanced at the man behind him. Stalin got up and picked up the Communist Manifesto. He gazed at the cover and remembered back to how Mao picked up the book and how he stood up, his frame towering over Stalin. Stalin looked back at the signed book. Inside it said, "Stay communist, XOXO, Karl Marx." I did not expect to see a fucking Gossip Girl reference in a fucking communist gay fanfiction. That is so funny. XOXO, Gossip Girl, XOXO, Karl Marx. I again cracked. I genuinely cracked. Although he was so glad to meet his hero, he couldn't even feel his original happiness and giddiness from before he met that stupidly large, tall, handsome, beautiful... his thoughts trailed off along with his consciousness. In the following weeks, another meet and greet from Karl Marx's The Communist Manifesto was to happen at the same bookstore. This time, Stalin promised himself to talk with Marx and to enjoy the time he has to meet his favorite book author. He had the smallest wonder of what would happen if Mao was there again, but he pushed that thought down. While walking towards the bookstore, Stalin felt a sense of confidence. He had read over the Communist Manifesto the day before and was ready to tell Marx his favorite parts of the book. He wasn't going to be distracted this time and miss out as possibly his last time at meeting Marx. This time, Stalin missed his speech and went in to see him already signing books. He walked up into the line, feeling determined to talk about his personal favorite part of the manifesto. Chapter 1, Bourgeoisie and Proletarians. Can I see that, like, straight up the first chapter being your favorite means that you better didn't read the book? Like, come on, at least, not the first chapter, girl. Like, are you a LARPer? By any chance, Stalin? Are you a fake fan? Once he finally reached the front of the line, he was greeted with Marx's warm smile. Hello! I was eyeing you earlier and was planning to ask if you also came to my meet and greet 3 weeks ago. Stalin blushed, feeling embarrassed of being recognized. Yeah, I really enjoyed your book, but I never got to discuss much with you last time. In fact, my favorite chapter, the Bourgeoisie. Stalin was suddenly cut off by a sound of someone coughing next to him. He took a slight glance and froze at what he saw. It was Mao. He kept staring. There was no way that he came back again. Right? Marx interrupted his trail of thought. Yes, sorry. The bourgeoisie and the proletarians. Stalin's embarrassment grew. It's a favorite chapter because of... Stalin couldn't help but take glances at Mao. What if he was listening to his conversation? He couldn't shrivel up on the spot. Marx seemed to be able to sense his awkwardness and talked for him. Yes, the bourgeoisie and the proletarians was one of my favorite chapters to write. What part of it did you enjoy? Perhaps the slow descent of everyday workers turning into instruments of labor in this capitalist society? Oh yeah, it's so enjoyable. It's so real, chat. Yes, that what was so impactful. Stalin chose to ignore the larger man to his side. Once Stalin finished his conversation, he quickly walked toward the door of the shop. He looked down straight to his... Wait. He looked down, trying his best not to be spotted by Mao. Jesus. He almost made it before he was stopped by a familiar, deep, husky voice and the smell of refreshing musk. Hey, you're the person I bumped into last time, right? Stalin cursed every god he knew. How unlucky could he be? He really shouldn't have come today. Stalin glanced up and sure enough, he was right. It was Big Mao in the flesh. It's giving big chunky or whatever it's called. Sorry, it's Moto, never mind, I'm a dumbass. Oh, yeah, hey, sorry about the other day. I'm pretty clumsy. No, you're fine. In fact, you seem like a very interesting person, and I wanted to get to know you a little bit more. Mao had no emotion on his face except a small, pleasant smile. Stalin had no clue how he managed to stay calm, as his own heart was beating loud and fast. He could particularly feel it in his throat. Oh, actually, I really wanted to meet you too. Stalin extended his clammy hand. My name is Joseph Stalin, but I go by Stalin. Nice to meet you. I'm Mao Zedong. I'm taking it that you're also enjoying the Communist Manifesto and Marx's work, considering that you've been here twice. Stalin genuinely could not tell if he was making fun or just trying to add some life to the very awkward conversation. Yeah, he's my favorite. I was so excited to see him when I heard that he was coming to the area. I have so many copies of the Communist Manifesto, and I also really enjoyed reading Capital, a critic of political economy. Stalin realized he was talking too much and trailed off. Sorry, I know I talk too much. Stalin looked up and saw Mao's smile growing. Oh my lord. Sorry, give me a second. I am genuinely struggling. My eyes are like... I have shit in my eye. And it's not this fanfiction. Okay. Hey, don't worry. I also enjoy his work. Hearing you talk about it is really nice. Stalin's face flushed. He was sure he looked completely red. Mao saved him the embarrassment of not mentioning it and instead asked him another question. I have somewhere to go after this, but I love talking to you. Do you think I could get your number? Stalin's brain faltered. How could this huge, beautiful man even dare to ask for someone as hideous and embarrassing as him for his number? Stalin stopped to think, realizing that Mao most likely wanted his number in a friendly way. There was no way that Mao was also a homo like him. I genuinely did not remember this line. I think I erased this from my brain when I was reading it for the first time. I genuinely think so. Anyway, happy Pride Month. Yeah, sure. I'd love to give you my number. Stalin takes out his phone and scatters to cover it as his phone screen is a character from Yarichi Bitch Club shows up. As Mao walks out with his number in hand, Stalin sighs a sense of relief mixed with anticipation, deep in thought as he walks home. Ugh. I need a moment. I genuinely forgot about the Yarichin Beach Club too. I think I erased a lot of like shit in my mind when I was reading this. Oh wait, I think I can erase this once more. My bad. Stalin caught himself staring. Oh. What the fuck is this? Oh no, that's part of the chapter. I'm stupid. Stalin caught himself staring off during Communism 101, usually his favorite class to attend. However, today, he just couldn't focus. He admits that the beautiful man that he met during the meet and greet was the reason why. The previous day, Mao had texted his number to ask him to hang out. Of course, Stalin readily agreed, and they chose to meet at a coffee shop once Stalin finished with his class. With this class, Jesus. Once his professor released him, he ran toward the door and started off his way towards the shop. Even though Stalin knew Mao only wanted to hang out, to talk as friends, he couldn't help but feel as though this meetup was a date. He brushed off the thought as he walked up to the store and saw Mao already sitting by a window in the corner. As he walked towards him, Mao looked up and gave a calm yet warm smile. Hey, really glad you could make it, Mao said before pushing towards Stalin a warm cup of coffee. I didn't know what you liked, so I just got the most popular drink. Oh, thank you. That's really sweet. Sorry I'm a bit late. My professor was going on a rant. Stalin picked up the coffee and took a sip. It was much hotter than he expected, and in his shock, he spit some on the table. Like, girl, embarrassing. Oh no! Stalin fumbled to grab napkins, but at the same time, Mao and Stalin's hands met. Mao's hands were coarse and firm, and Stalin hastily pulled his hand back, although he secretly longed for the warmth he received from the fleeting touch. Sorry, Stalin mumbled, increasingly embarrassed before cleaning the rest of it up. Are you hurt? Mao asked, confused by Stalin's sudden pulling away, and looked incredibly worried at the younger man's hand. I'm fine, thanks. Stalin couldn't help but flush at the attention. As they continued their conversation, Stalin was surprised at the amount that they had in common. Along with their interest in Karl Marx, they both found themselves to be Leninists. But soon it came to the tedious question about age. I was wondering how old you are, considering that you're in college, Mao started. Oh, I'm 20, Stalin blushed. When Stalin and Mao first met at the bookstore, he knew that Mao was much older than him. In his mind raced, what if Mao wouldn't want to be with someone as inexperienced as him? But Stalin ignored the thought. He knew that Mao wasn't looking for a relationship with him anyways. Oh, really? You're young, Mao teased, but you seem very mature for your age. And then I was like, ugh. Like, you know, I'm not about to be like this is literally communist people, dead people, I don't care. But in any other scenario, I would be having major ick. Major. Well, I'm not that young. How old are you? Perhaps a little too old for such a small boy like you. I'm 45. And I was like, a 25-year-old age gap? What do you mean that's not even that old? Oh, really? I could probably be your father, Mao grinned. Stalin would rather die than admit this, but that comment turned him on even more. Whatever, it's not like I'm a baby, Mao amusement grew, and Stalin was mesmerized by his comforting smile. Dude, get out of there. Stranger danger. Whilst they were leaving the coffee shop, Stalin walked into a man with a tall figure. Sorry, Stalin flustered as he looked up and he heard a familiar voice. Stalin? Carl! Stalin saw the distinct bushy beard of his favorite writer. How are you here? Mars laughed and said, I knew I recognized you. I live around here, which is why I'm able to have meet and greets at the bookstore so often. Mars looked at Mao. I've also met you before, correct? Yes, the taller man responded, looking a bit annoyed, but Stalin couldn't decipher why. Well, Stalin, it's so wonderful to see you again. Even just based on our short conversation, I think we could get along great. Really? I think so too. How about I give you my number, Marx winks. We seem to have so much in common. Stalin gave a nervous laugh and handed him his phone. As he did, Marx's hand caressed his, as in seemingly purposeful way. Mao cleared his throat. I think we should be going. We're on a date right now, Mao said once Marx handed the phone back. Stalin was stunned by Mao's calling their outing a date. A date? Stalin whipped his head to look at Mao, who wasn't even looking back at him, but instead glaring at Marx. Oh, well, that's nice, Marx said abruptly. I suppose I shouldn't keep you too long then. Have a good day, Stalin, he smiled. Thank you. Stalin waved goodbye as Marx turned around. Once Stalin turned to Mao, he whispered, shouted, What was that? What? Mao asked, acting innocent. You know what I mean. Hang out, date. Stalin flushed at his words. And being so rude to Marx. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mao winked at him. Would you like to go to the beach to walk? No. No, not really. I think I'm done here. I think this was enough date. Thank you. I'm done here. My Uber driver is right there. Thankfully, the beach was not too far away. The sun was setting with a beautiful orange glow, taking up the sky. Stalin felt the wind blowing into his face with the lovely smell of sand and salt water. Stalin, I really enjoyed our time together. Mao started. And I wanted to be completely honest with you and tell you that I like you. A lot. Bitch, that's a 20-year-old. You're 45. Get a life. Get a job. Stalin couldn't believe his ears. There was no way Mao could possibly fall for someone like him. He didn't even know how to respond, but looking into Mao's hopeful eyes, he knew he had to admit to him too. Words, Jesus. I really like you too, Stalin stumbled out. I mean, not that much, so don't let it boost your ego. Mao laughed. I had such a fun time today, and I would really enjoy it if we've got to know each other even more. Do you wanna come over to my house later tomorrow then? It's getting quite late and it'll be dark soon, Mao offered. Oh yeah, of course. Stalin barely even noticed the fading light, and he really didn't want their time together to end. A small part of him worried about walking home at night. Stalin himself has dealt with some creepy man catcalling him because of his thin, skinny, almost impossible to see waist. Mao was able to sense his discomfort and said, how about I walk you home? I don't want you to get hurt or anything. I'll be fine. Stalin didn't want Mao to think of him as weak, but with Mao's very insistent words, he finally gave in. As they arrived at Stalin's apartment, Stalin gave a glance at Mao. He got up on toes and planted a light kiss on his face. Mao felt his soft and warm lips touch his mouth, and he fed into the kiss. Stalin blushed as he got back down, quietly whispered, see you tomorrow. Holy cringe fest indeed. You know what? Again, I guess they planned to write a like, what is it called? I guess they somewhere along the line tried to write an mpreg into this, because if you see the tags like Mao calls his Jedong and I don't know, like mutual pinning type shit, like internalized homophobia. Why would he have internalized homophobia? He mentioned that he was homosexual once. Like, possessive behavior was not even that possessive. Like, I feel like Mao was 100% down to, oh, this is a date, and like he just clarified, yeah, this is a date. I don't even feel like that was a possessive behavior towards Marx, and Marx was just like, okay, cool, bye guys. Like, a lot of these are dictator roleplay where 5-year plan, what even is that? Like, again, some of these are really not making much sense, and I feel like the author decided, yeah, I kind of don't want to actually write this, so I'm going to end it with 2 chapters, but then maybe update your tags, Mr. Miss Erimuni. But yeah, this was one of the only ones that generally did not have any sex in it. I think there's another one that's kind of close, but it has a bit more sexual innuendo than this one. Either way, this was the only Stalin fanfic. This was genuinely the only Stalin fanfic that I found that was like, you know, more, I don't even want to say serious, but you know, less jokey. And it was within the actual communist fandom. Okay, let me just see. 1, 2. We have 3 left. And two of them are Che Guevara and Fidel Castro, and one of them is, I think, still Marx and Engels. Actually, we might have one more Engels one. I need a number. Oh, that felt so nice. I need a break. Jesus Christ. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of this grandpa. If no one says anything, I'm just gonna pick my own number next. Oh, the Commies discover Yaoi was the biggest in size, funny enough, but not the longest. Interesting. Alright, I'll pick my own then. I think this, yes, let me finish the Karl Marx shit and then we end it with Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. Just a moment, let me zoom in on this. This one is also quite short, actually. There we go. The Unexpected Love Blossoms. Oh my god, I forgot this is Omega Verse again. But I genuinely don't like, this is short. Also, this was also written this year, so. An Unexpected Love Blossoms by the Gallant Jiraiya. Omega Carl goes into heat. Oh yeah, this was the first one that I found, actually, I think. Friedrich lived with his roommate Carl in a studio apartment in Berlin. He knew Carl was an Omega for a while now, an unclaimed one at that. He was always so passionate about liberating Omegas from their alpha bourgeoisie oppressors that Engels grew to admire his works. No class division was the ultimate goal for the society Carl envisioned. He strives to help the exploited, and Friedrich was happy to help him in this mission. I read this and I genuinely thought that I found gold. I genuinely fucking read this and I thought I found gold until I continued reading it and I'm like, wait a minute, this is actually not that good. but the fucking liberating Omegas from the alpha bourgeoisie oppressors was actually a funny fucking line to read. But one day, everything changed. Carl locked the door to their dorm, sweating and panting. He ground his He groaned. I guess there's a coma. His heat was on its way. Angus banged his fist on the door. Open up, Carl! I know you're in there, he shouted. Carl hesitated to open the door. Jeez, you look like a mess. What's going on? Says Angus. Can't you see? I'm going into heat! Snaps Carl, huffing petulantly like a child. Looks like you need an alpha for that, Frederick whispers sultrily. Again, this one has a lot of spelling mistakes once more. Before he knew it, Carl was on his back with the alpha on top of him. What did you say, brat? He growls. Time to put you in your place. Oh, brother. This guy stinks. He gently kisses over his collarbone and neck, leaving a trail of purple marks after him, no pun intended. Carl moaned at his ministrations, parting his legs, allowing Frederick to slot in between. A rough growl rips through his throat as he pins Carl with one hand, the other resting on his hip. Beg for it, baby, he whispers. Show how much you need me. I refuse, Carl hisses back. That's too embarrassing. Wait. That's so embarrassing. Stop asserting dominance. Besides, he says weakly, I was gonna be Jenny today. Like, again, please use the correct punctuation marks because it's fuck-ass annoying to read your work that is so fucking riddled with these lack of commas and the quotation marks. Pisses me off. I already texted Jenny to tell her you're ill, says Angus, so don't worry, I have you covered. Jeez, Angus, I'm not a child, he groans. I could have told her myself. I know you aren't a child, Carl, because a child wouldn't be in my name. Well, at least he's not a pedophile. Frederick smirks. Yay. Shut up, Frederick, says Carl, a visible brush creeping onto his cheeks as he gets flustered. It's okay, baby, I got you, he says, gently holding him in his arms. Carl screams as the waves of heat rips through him. Angus smirks, turns into an expression of concern and worry as he begins to scent him with his pins. Tar and rain scent, kissing his scent gland. Carl arches against him in response. Please, he begs, I need you. With a sharp growl, Frederick flips him on his back, kissing him aggressively, staking his claim on him. I don't think I like this, but then again, you know, depending on which one do you read first, someone gets their revenge on the next fanfic, you know? Like, there are two Omegaverse fanfiction here, and they're literally the complete opposite of each other. But at the end of the day, they both feel very dubious consent. So again, at the end of the day, depending on which one do you read first, in the other one, someone gets revenge. So it really depends on which team you're on. But always be on the side of communism, I guess. Or gayness. Anyway, where was I? Yes. Carl reciprocates with the same passionate energy as his boyfriend's already boyfriend, by the way, tongue slowly as his new boyfriend tongue slowly slipping into his arm. Please actually fucking correct your words. Like, get a beta. They pull away, gasping for air. Carl's eyes wide, his pupils dilated in the heat of desire and passion. He climbs on top of Frederick, removing his shirt to the side. To the side? How do you remove your shirt to the side? Like, you shove your panties to the side, maybe your bra to the side, but your shirt feels weird. Like, just take it off. Frederick is well built. He traces his muscular torso, kissing his chest, gently worshipping him. Frederick, a sigh of hunger on his lips. He takes off Carl's blouse, revealing a chubby but well-defined stomach. He kisses all over his tummy, marking him up as his Carl softly softly, I guess another comma, whimpers, comma again, as Angus grazes his teeth over his nip. Yes, that's it for me, baby, whispers Angus as he kissed lower and lower, removing Carl's briefs. He's hitting him right in the face. He gets on his knees with Carl leaning against the bed and takes the swollen of his into his mouth. He swears his tongue around the tip, making Carl cry out in pleasure. God damn it, Frederick, if you keep going at that pace, he growls, I might just come. He releases him with a soft pop of his lips. Carl's omega hole, I hated that, leaking with moisture, ready to be filled. Frederick's snot strains against his pants as the side. He pokes his erect against Carl's entry. Feel that, baby, he says. That's how hot I am for you. Carl moans deeply, spreading himself wider to accommodate Frederick. Angus whips down his pants, revealing his hot 8-inch length. He gently teases Carl's end with his tip. That's great. Beg for it, baby, he says. Show how much you want me. Yes, daddy, Carl moans. I need it so bad. I hate it here. You know, I feel like the problem is that we're not trying to even be a bit respectful, which is fair. Communism is not exactly the best thing out there. Like, we were half joking about Jesus too, but I feel like there were certain Jesus fanfics that felt, I don't necessarily want to say respectful, but at the very least, like, I guess, I guess respectful is the right way. My idea is that, remember that one fanfic where, I don't even remember, it was with one of the apostles and Jesus. Like, that shit genuinely felt like, hey, I'm in the Christian community, I am gay, and I feel like Jesus is pansexual, so I am going to write this, and this is about, you know, the human, like, it felt human, you know? That whole shit felt human, because again, it was mainly about the apostle feeling bad for craving the Son of God. But this shit just feels like, oh, I want to write shit. And I'm not saying that shit cannot be funny or shit cannot be ironic. It's just, I think you can make something better. Like the one with the church gate and all that. But then again, that was also based on a play rather than the actual people. And the play was based on the people, you know, it's like, But yeah, we really don't fuck with Carl in this house. Like, Carl is getting the short end of things in this one. Like, obviously Stalin too, but I kid you not, the Che Guevara ones are really on the more respectful side of things, at the very least. Then you'll get it. Angus growls, slapped himself into the tight opening. Carl, a mix of pain and pleasure ripping through him. Frederick buries himself to the peppering little kisses over Carl's neck. Oh, Frederick, Carl, I'm gonna puke. He's all over his tummy, his white with dripping onto the bed. Angus can't hold it in either. He's not swelling and Carl's tight, full of his cup. After their passion and heat of the moment, they cuddle each other. Frederick generously spooning Carl into his arm and planting a kiss on his forehead. Carl nuzzles Frederick's chest happily and content as he presses another kiss to his cheek. Both are happy. Wow, like, like, you know what this ending is giving? It's giving. So to those who are not in the manhwa community, Jinx, one of the most notorious manhwas out there, finally ended after 4 years. That's right, Jinx is finally over. And the ending was horrible. Horrible. Like, it literally ended with the bottom just forgiving and starting dating his literal abuser after his own grandmother's funeral. Like, genuinely, I feel like either the writer just does not know how to write shit without rape and abuse, like sexual assault and abuse, or they just genuinely do not know how to write healthy couples. Because I read their other work. What was it called? BG Alex. I think they also wrote BG Alex. She also wrote BG. Like, BG Alex wasn't good either. By all means, it was also not good either. But I feel like at the very least, BG Alex tried more than whatever the fuck Jinx was. Jinx is a rage bait. I genuinely do not recommend anyone read it. I never read it in my entire life, but the enough chapters that I saw made me realize that it's probably one of the worst fics out there. Sorry, one of the worst mangas out there. I'm sure there is worse, yeah, but like, like the ending was so bad. Like, it was straight up saying that, like, Kim Dan, the bottom, said something to JQ like, we both hurt each other or something, and I'm like, we both hurt each other? What are you talking about? You didn't hurt this guy. He was hurting you. And you were trying to run away from him, which was fair. Like, you were trying to escape the toxicity, girl. Don't say shit like that to me. So yeah, that pissed me off. Anyway, we have only 2 fanfiction left. One of them, I'm gonna start with the 2. Okay, that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to start with the longer one. I'm pretty sure this is the longer one anyway. Yeah, this is at least 1,000 words. So, give me a second. Rock that both. And this is Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. Rock that boat by Oh God, please nobody find this. Well, I found it, so you don't have to, but you will. Sex on a boat. Okay, that's it. Wait, it might be... I might need to... No, actually, I don't need to do shit. It's fine. It was the 4th night out on the sea. Che loved the water. It brought him back to his time with Alberto on the Mambo Tango. Though he has to admit the night bothered him. He couldn't stand the sight of nothing. Black as far as the eye could see. It made him uneasy. Only the dim light of a few lanterns lit up the deck. But aside from that, it was like a void. He couldn't sleep that night. Not with the sound of the other men vomiting from the relentless waves that crashed against Grandma. He had warned them before. Hand to drink what... Wait. He had warned them beforehand. Okay, that's one word, mind you. To drink water before they slept to avoid getting seasick. He shifted past huddled man, escaping to the deck. His eyes focused on a familiar figure. On a familiar figure again. Sorry, I'm raging a bit. Shadow. Figure's shadow. Oh, it misses an apostrophe. Okay. Leaning against the banister. Before he could make his presence known, he turned around. Only the dim ember of his cigar illuminating his bearded face. Trouble sleeping, Comandante? He spoke through his teeth, not bothering to remove his cigar from his mouth. Something like that. Che responded, wandering over beside him. His back faced away from the ocean. It was too late for him to admire it. Those men. Ellos simplemente no escuchan. ¿Verdad? I am not even gonna try to translate that, and I'm not even going to claim that I know Spanish. So if I sound horrible, I apologize. I did not have nor the time nor the energy to actually check on Google Translate how to pronounce these words. But yeah, I will try my best. He fought a grin from his face, nodding in agreement. I warned them. He took his head, disapproving of their incompetence. Disapproving. Surely you took my advice, right, Fidel? The Cuban flicked his cigar as ashes into the sea below before responding. See, of course I did. It would be foolish not to take the advice of a doctor. He waved his hands dramatically, mocking his title. Ernesto retaliated, playfully elbowing him. You mock me, yet you're one of the only ones who isn't sick, he reminded him. See, I suppose you're right. Fidel brushed his uniform off after Che touched him. He stung. I usually am. The younger Argentine responded, flaunting his knowledge once again. He was very grateful for the education he has received, and he loved using it to help others, even if they didn't listen. Don't get carried away. Humble yourself, Ernestito. You're usually so good at that. Why aren't you in there helping them? Fidel glared down at his counterpart, waiting for a response. There is nothing I can do for them. I assure you the last thing they want is my comfort. They just need to puke it out. They'll be fine. Che responded, rocking on his heels as he did so. A doctor who's too full of himself to help the sick. Fidel taunted him. It isn't like that. Che rushed to defend himself. I mean, from a medical standpoint, there is nothing I can do for them. The Cuban held his hand out, gesturing for him to be quiet. I know, I was just trying to get a reaction out of you. Settle down. I don't want any of the other men to wander out here because you're causing a scene. Fidel truly just wanted time alone with Che. It was hard to get on a boat. I doubt you have the energy to come out. I doubt they have the energy to come out. They're all sick or trying their best to sleep. His voice trailed off as his hands made their way to Gastro's collar, adjusting it. Fidel leaned down to grant Che easier access. You fix my appearance and yet you are disheveled. You stink. He called at him. We are in the middle of the ocean. I apologize that I don't smell like roses and lemongrass. He scoffed, pushing the other man away. I should have invested some of our funding in cologne. Che quickly shot back. Mouthwash couldn't hurt either. You reek of smoke and musk. Fidel giggled at his jab at him, blowing the smoke from his cigar into Che's face. He quickly broke out into a coughing fit. Are you trying to kill me? This isn't even funny. Che wheezed through a laughter as Gastro pounded on his back with his palm. Lo siento. No estaba pensando, Ernesto. ¿Estás bien? He tried to hide the underlying concern in his tone. Che finished his flare-up with a few quiet gasps for air before clearing his throat one more time. Si, Fidel, no need to worry. The two sat in silence, staring out into the water. It made Che uneasy, but he didn't want to break the silence, worried Fidel may move his hand he forgot to take away from his back. His train of thought was interrupted by Fidel's hand creeping down from his back onto his hip. Comandante, you have faith in your claim no man will come out here. He bent down closer to him, his gaze softening as he flicked what remained of his cigar into the water, his newly freed hand grabbing onto the other side of the Argentinian's waist. Che pushed himself closer to Fidel, frantically nodding. See, they are far too preoccupied. Nothing to worry about. The Cuban found his eagerness endearing. He pushed Che's back against the railing, his hands latching onto the bars of the barricade, keeping the younger man trapped under him. I miss our alone time, Che. With a sigh, the constant tension of his shoulder fell as he leaned into him, gently biting on the side of his neck. The overwhelming scent of smoke from his breath spread quickly. Che wheezed, burying his head into Fidel's shoulders. His arm quickly wrapped under the other man's arms, his finger digging into his back in an attempt not to make any noise. Fidel's head slowly backed off of Che's neck. He turned his face to Wheelhouse. You don't think anyone would be in there at this hour, do you? Che stumbled over his words. He was in a dazed state. Gastro sighed and dragged him over to the helm despite his lack of an answer. He shut the door behind him, pushing a chair under a doorknob. Where was I? Oh Jesus, I lost it. That's why I hate like very thick text. If they're not evenly spaced out, I'm really easily lose my mind. There it is. Che quickly reached for the lantern on the small desk in the room, flicking it off. The room was hardly visible. Fidel sat down in the chair beside the wheel of the ship, spreading his legs. He tapped the hand on his thigh, gesturing for Che to come. Jack carefully draped himself over Fidel, sitting on his lap. Fidel let out a small groan, feeling the two of them pressed against each other. He pushed down on Chess's waist, forcing them to be pushed tightly together. Chess had collapsed down into the Cuban's shoulder as he began to rock his hip into him. Fidel responded by wrapping his fingers in the Argentinian's hair. Again, they are not exactly good when it comes to you know, places. I don't know how to call it when someone's from somewhere, you know. Gently holding clumps of it in his fist. Ernesto, por favor, no tan rapido. Oh my god, not that fast. I understood that. I understood that. He pushed his hips up, allowing Che a better angle to grind at. Che panted into the man's shoulder, the small, tight cabin quickly filling with the heat. Tranquilos, tranquilos. E hombres que siguen despiertos? Jesus. Enfermos, pero no sordos. A hypocrite to his own words. Whatever that means, because I'm not gonna translate that, chat. If you wanna know what that means, Google is your friend. Che groaned into Fidel's neck, trying to muffle the sound. The two of them were growing more desperate and frantic. Their grind became faster and sporadic. As Fidel held his head tightly into his chest, desperately trying to silence him while fighting with himself not to slip up. The men were drenched in sweat and physically exhausted. The Argentinian remained on top of Fidel in his chair, his body draped over his. A weak hand held Che close to him. Ahora ambos olemos a mierda, Fidel murmured. I don't even smell that bad, Che responded. And that's it. Honestly, this was really cute. Again, I like when, like, it generally just feels very human, the conversation itself. And obviously because they speak each other's language, it's probably easier for I guess in reality they would only straight up just be speaking Portuguese, I think. I think Cubans speak Portuguese. I genuinely don't know. Honest to God, I'm sorry if I don't speak the language. I probably am not. But I do want to say, when you kind of riddle your fanfic with these sentences, there are two ways you can go about this. Either you do the more educational and more easier approach where you use very easy to understand sentences to be written in another language, like por favor, lo siento, you know, like things that I can not comprehend, but I can deduce what they mean. Or you go on the other end where you want your characters purposefully to be hard to understand, or you want to make sure that they purposefully are speaking another language to confuse a third party, not necessarily the reader. Or if you want to confuse the reader, that you want to do it in a meaningful way where you do not want to allow the viewer to instantly understand what's going on. If you want to know a good example, Draculesh does that well, because Draculesh has a few certain sentences or instances where, for example, the brides speak amongst themselves in Romanian in front of Roger because they don't want Roger to understand them. It is very elaborate. You yourself can obviously search it up and understand what they're talking about, or you can be like us, Romanians, and understand what's going on. So, like, obviously, for someone who is from Argentina or Cuba, reading this would make complete sense, right? Right. But I feel like the writer's idea should not be to exclude non-Latin American readers. They should be more like, hey, I wrote certain sentences in this way because I want them to show character through their speech. I want these two to show character through their speech, right? So yeah, that's why I'm like, these long ass sentences feel kind of like they're dragging you out of the fic. Also, not to mention, I'm pretty sure I fumbled that so bad, so I apologize if my reading was not correct. I think I tried my best. But yeah, we have only one left, and I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna have to read though. Drink though, Jesus. Alright. It's this one, right? No, it's not this one. Jesus. Which one is it? Wait. 1, 2. Wait, did I actually read all of them? For the last one, pick first. I shall. Wait. I don't know where it is. Did I delete one by accident? Wait. Did I read actually all of them? So When the Flames was the first one. That was the Yuri one. And then we read the Fuck the Bourgeoisie, which was like hella weird, I think. And then we read the Revolutionary Ardour. Then we went to Commies Discover Yaoi. And then it was Unexpected Love. Wait. Oh, no, I found it. Two of them have a very similar name, and that's why I got like hella confused, but I found it. I genuinely thought I deleted it. Okay. So this is the last one. It's called Old Man Yaoi. That's why I was like, Commies Discover Yaoi and Old Man Yaoi, and I kind of like, you know, got fucked over. This is not the shortest by any means, but this feels like one of the smallest works out there, because by size it's only like what? It's only like 56 kilobytes. So yeah, it's Old Man Yaoi by, oh god, please nobody find this. So it's written by the same person who wrote the previous one. If I remember correctly, this one doesn't have any Spanish in it though, which is kind of funny. Like wait, let me just check something. Out of pure curiosity, this was written in March. And the boat one was written also in March. Wait. This was... Wait. Oh my god, they were written by 3 days difference. This is 3 days older than the other one. So this was, Old Man Yaoi came first. Old Man Yaoi vogued so Rock That Boat could run. I'm saying. Okay, let's go. Fidel and Che had finally finished setting up camp with the rest of the men. They sat around a small fire huddled together. Che's way of storytelling made the man erupt into the fits of laughter as he recounted his times in Latin America with Alberto. Fidel, who sat on the opposing side of the bonfire, took advantage of his downtime to admire the way the flickering flames lit up the young commander's face. He had only been seeing him in the shadows in the Cuban forest, the leaves overhead denying him the sunlight that illuminated Che's features. His eyes always looked so pretty in the light. What a shame. He rested his chin in his palm. He listened to Che's story. He mumbled the words Che spoke as he told the story Fidel had heard in dozens of times. He memorized every detail of it by this point. A smile crept its way onto his face, shaking his head, trying not to laugh at some joke he had heard retold again and again. Plus, his men surrounded him. It was important that he remained stoic. Even if the urge to chuckle over hearing about Che flying off La Poderosa was almost irresistible. After a few more rounds of Camilo's flask being passed around in a circle, disappointed whining arose from the group of bearded rebels as they found it empty. They collectively seemed to agree this meant they should call it a night, though many dragged their feet returning to their tents, knowing they may not be so fortunate as to enjoy such downtime in the near future. Camilo drunkenly said his goodbyes to Che and Fidel, as if they would never see each other again. Che laughed, finding Camilo's state endearing, gesturing for him to go back to his tent. Fidel was grateful for the 7-hour break that sleep would grant him from Camilo. After Camilo stumbled back to his tent, wailing about his love for the two of them, only Fidel and his most loyal soldier remained. Che cleared his throat, trying to pretend as if the smoke didn't bother him. Fidel, does the fire bother your eyes? He tilted his head, taking note of Gastro's glossed over eyes. Fidel shook his head quickly. I apologize, Ernesto. Alcohol always makes me sappy. He glanced back to their tent. He couldn't wait a moment longer to embrace the cod that hours earlier he cursed at for falling in on itself. Chen noticed the Fidel's eyes begged for his body to retreat for the night. He stood up and made his way to their tent, holding the flap open for him. Fidel nodded at him as a way to show his gratitude for the gesture. Chen zipped the tent up after he followed Castro inside. He dug around in his bag before struggling to take his shirt off over his head. He tossed it aside, sitting down on the edge of the cot. Fidel sat on the opposing side of the tent, making no attempt to divert his gaze. Fidel, problemo? Oh no, there is some Spanish in, some Spanish/Portuguese in this, my bad. The Argentinian tilted his head off-put by the man's eyes focused on his. Forgive me, he stumbled over his words, taking his hat off, discarding it under his coat. I can't help myself, Ernesto. He reached over to the lantern that sat at his feet, flicking it on before kneeling down before the younger man. Chen's body instantly tensed up, frightened by the sudden shift in Fidel's from his commander to his lover. Fidel, you told me we wouldn't do these things with the other man so close. He shifted his legs shut instantly. The Cuban's hand slid between Chen's tightly locked knees, spreading his legs open once again. His hand slid up from his thighs to his exposed body, finally stopping when his calloused hand gently cradled his second-in-command's face. I believe tonight could be an exception, no? Por favor, te necesito, Ernesto. His constant stoic glare melted off of his face, being replaced with a pitiful look of desperation. Ches signed reluctantly, leaning his head into Fidel's hand. De acuerdo, tu ganas. Tu ganas? I don't know what that means. The man mumbled. As soon as the Cubans was granted permission, he locked lips with the younger Argentinian, embracing him passionately on the... Okay, so there's the problem. You should not use this specific word to describe Che in this situation when you already say younger. That implies that there's an older Argentinian in the room with us, which is definitely not, because there's just the two of you in there and one of you is already a Cuban. You know? Like, semantics. Okay, embracing him passionately on the cot that was struggling to support the weight of the two. Fidel's fingers quickly found themselves tangled in Chess' hair, Chess' hands fumbling with the buttons of his commander's uniform. Castro tugged at Chess' hair slightly, causing him to let out a small murmur of pleasure. Fidel leaned into his neck, taunting him. Who knew? Chef snickered before noticing something in the corner of his eyes. He quickly tossed his shirt on Fidel, trying to cover him up. Someone was outside of the tent. He hurried over, peeking his head outside of their tent to be greeted by Camilo, to Fidel's dismay. Chef smiled and walked outside to see what he needed. Camilo, you need something at this hour? He said, patting sweat off his forehead with his handkerchief. See, Raul got bit by a mosquito. He's really frightened, thinks he's gonna die. He giggled at the man's overreaction, though he might be having an allergic reaction. Che took a deep breath in. Him and Fidel's affairs would have to wait for another night. And that is genuinely it. It was so short. It was cute, but it was so fucking short. There was another Fidel Castro one again, and Che Guevara, but my problem was that I didn't like that it was first POV. So yeah, this was all the gay not even gay, yes, gay, because even lesbians are gay. So like, these were all the gay communist fanfictions that I could find that were genuinely, at the very least, kind of about communism and not use communism as a side gig. Because there is a lot. Like, you can genuinely not research the Communist Manifesto, communism, or sometimes even like people like Stalin without finding unironic, or more likely ironic bullshit. It's not easy, so I would like to shout out to everyone who wrote this, even though some of y'all really need to get... I don't know, get inside the rubber room for like 5 minutes. Without the rats, for once. I don't want you to go crazy, I just want you to think about your choices. But yeah, if I have to pick favorite, I think it would be the revolutionary Ardour. Rats? They made me crazy. So, rats make me crazy, exactly. So, I feel like Rock the Boat was nice and fun, but again, the language barrier makes you feel more isolated rather than giving you an invitation, which is probably not what the writer was leaning for, unless they are, in which case they can claim their ownership of this fanfiction in my comments, which they probably won't because their name is literally "Oh, please don't find this." But hey, I would be happy to have you. Let's have a TED talk. What made you write this? The flame one with like when the flames of the candle, whatever, like the Yuri one was nice until I read it out loud and I realized that it was like genuinely very confusing, and again, the repetitions are not helping. A lot of people struggle with punctuation marks, as you guys can see. It's a process. You can all learn, we can all learn, and we can all become better at this. We can all fight and not stop, never give up. All I'm saying is make cringe. Make cringe because the world needs more people who are not afraid to post these. And I don't know what should be the next theme I'm gonna go into yaoi fanfic reading of. I don't even know why I made this communist theme. I genuinely just had a random ass call with my roommate or like some talk, and we were like, I don't know why we were talking about communism, but somehow we ended up on the communist AO3, and I'm like, hold on, we might be cooking here. But yeah, it is really surprising how Christianity, the one place where such feelings are a sin, are more likely to be found than communism, which has like the gay communist propaganda, you know, the Russian and the Chinese guy posing together and having kids and all that. I genuinely think it's because of the whole forbidden shit. It's giving that, you know, like it's forbidden for us to be gay, therefore we make gay fanfiction. But anyway, I'm probably going to delete these from my PC before someone finds them and thinks some weird stuff about me, make some weird headcanons. I probably am not ready for that conversation. On God, for real. But yeah. Guys, once again, do not find these creators to spread hate on their fanfic. That is a mean thing to do, and I do not condone to that shit. They wrote this, and yeah, that's probably enough. Do not fight people. It's not worth it. I also want to say that I'm going to go now because, as I said, this stream was not meant to be longer than 2 hours. I'm surprised that we actually hit 2 hours. Again, in a few hours we're going to be experiencing the Summer Game Fest of 2026. Summer Game Fest, right? Yes. Jesus, I almost forgot what we were doing tonight. So if you want to watch it with us on the Discord server, make sure to join. If you're not a member already, make sure you're an 18 and above as well. And otherwise, if you want to, you can always follow me on other social medias down below. But please, before you go, like this stream and boost that communist propaganda, I guess. Have a good night, nice stream. Thank you guys, I'ma head out. Take care of yourselves. I will be seeing you guys this Sunday. I have some great news regarding Yakuza. I've completed all of the Cabaret Club Grand Prix. I unlocked all the sub-stories regarding Cabaret Club Grand Prix, so we can just go through them on the next stream. I cannot do any other sub-stories because I'm kind of forced into a cutscene instantly and I don't want to skip it nor record it. So just so you know, I've been farming a lot of money, so I think we can have a more productive night in like 2 days with saving Haruka and all that. So I hope to see you guys there. I'm going to go now, have fun, and stay communist! XOXO! Navillian ordering! Goodbye!